It's in the setups.
Oh,
You
Well,
go to setup. There's something about a virtual background.
well, I mean, it could be on your wall. I had a friend that had a mural painted on his wall of a Civil War battle. I don't know why, but he did. So see, you could actually be in the Cosmos setting. I'm impressed. I'll skip going to set up to try and do something like that because God only knows what I would end up with. We don't have any guests on here. I see if I don't see anyone's. Yeah, Byron, I see you.
Yes, morning.
Morning.
Good to have you on here. And, like I think I speak for everyone here. We're sorry to hear about your dad and your mom both.
Thank you.
We've got a little program here today as a tribute to Bernie.
Great.
Well, let's get the business part out of the way. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Thank you. I don't know that we have any old business. I don't have anything written down here for old business.
I've been trying to get trying to contact the Tuesday night lady over at the school, and I have not heard from her yet.
Good. I had you on the agenda here to ask you about that, so that's good.
Okay, sorry.
Hello, Michael. Good to see you.
Good to see you and everybody else. Happy Sunday morning.
Yep. Just a few things. The National sent out an email. I don't know if it went out to all members or if it just went to the presidents, but it's talking about email gift card scam. Did all of you get that email?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, then I won't go into it then. Bylaws. We were talking about this is an election year, not only for the government, but not only for the government, but for us also. And I haven't seen anyone raise their hand to be president or vice president, Michael. So I'm in preparation into as some form of continuity for the club. Gary Walton wrote up an amendment to the bylaws, which allows the office.
Okay, Renee's got it on her phone, my iPad,
Laptop, your iPad.
so maybe, let me turn this off and see if you can hear me.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just working with Jim to get him on, so he's on now.
Okay, we're gonna hang you up.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna hang you up here.
Hello. You can see me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not gonna break your screen if you can see me.
Were you going to show us something or?
I just had to get on.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't even on until now, so.
Well,
I'm
good to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
We was talking about the bylaws amendment. I'm gonna ask Bob. I'll send it to Bob. If you could send this email out after the meeting, and everyone can read it, the amendments, and then we can vote on them at the next meeting. And hopefully by then it won't be necessary. We'll have someone jump up and say, "I'd like to be president," and we need a vice president also. So we're looking. So anyway, we can discuss it in more detail and and vote, do a vote at the next meeting. I had a gentleman contact me, Darius Denton. Does anyone know him?
I don't.
He lives in Druid Hills, and George, you may have to help me with this. Is it Taka Hills?
Okay.
Cocoa Hills. He lives in that area. He's a member of National, not a member of our club. I don't know how he slipped through the cracks there, because we could have, I mean, he was close enough. We should have been able to get him in. But anyway, he's moving to Florida. I don't know where, but he's got a collection of clocks that he would like to sell. And I told him that, you know, normally we'd have an auction, he could bring them and we would auction them off, but due to the circumstances, he can't. But I will also give his contact information to Bob, and he, when he sends out the minutes, then if you're interested, you can contact him. He'll send you pictures of them, and you can make an offer on those. I don't see Clint Gruwell from Woodstock on. I was going to ask for an update on the Woodstock clock, but Randy, has he contacted you any further on that?
Other than just that we found, I think it's Valiant was the company, and he was going to look into that, but I've not heard beyond that.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Anyone have heard anything about Hank Scott?
Oh.
Mary, are you talking to your cat?
Yeah, she was about to jump down off the landing onto a rather pricey ivory carved ship.
I understand. You know, dogs don't do that, by the way.
They chew them.
Yeah. I've got a collection of clocks here that a lady asked me to fix for her, and they're all chewed up because they had a puppy and had the clocks sitting on the floor, and they're wall clocks, but she had them sitting on the floor, and the dog has chewed the decorative edges off of these clocks. So it's a shame. That's when
One of my dad's friends said that he had a clock for me to restore, a grandfather clock that the dogs had chosen to make their peeing post, and was rotten on the bottom. I was like,
That's called patina.
it's a shame when stuff like that happens.
Not cats, they're bad too.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get between Mary and her cats.
One.
About finding somebody?
Cat.
I've got a request too. Does anybody know where or what's going on with Donald Jackson?
Not I. You know, he doesn't answer the emails, and you know, he's just, what do the kids call it? Ghosting.
Yeah.
When you don't answer. So I don't know what he's doing. I think he's paid his dues though, so he's still, you know, still a member, but he's just not communicating.
Interesting. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, he's probably.
If anybody from him, if they'd send me the information, I'd sure appreciate it.
Yeah, he's you know, I think he still travels a lot with his job.
Yeah, he always has.
Yeah. So, well, we'll hear from him eventually, I'm sure. All right. I have the Charles sent me the treasurer's report. I need to pull it up here. We've got another $220 credit for rent. When I talked to Ann Jackson at Gwinnett County Parks and Recreation, you know, she she's nice enough to credit us with our rent each month that we don't meet. So I told her that I'd let her know officially in December, but I was pretty sure we wouldn't meet in December either. So we'll get another credit. So we're gonna only owe like $220 next year for rent. So it's a sad way to make a credit, but you know, I'd rather spend the money and meet in person. So, but let me. So our ending balance is $17,214. So we're still financially well off. And that does not include the $880 credit that we have with Gwinnett County. So we're doing fine. Any questions about the report? I mean, I can go into detail if you want, but it's not a whole lot to go into. George, you got a groaner for us?
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, November 1st is time to turn our clocks back, and I saw a little thing on the internet I thought I'd read to you all. It's a guide to turning your clocks back. When you have a smartphone, leave it alone, it will do its magic. If you have a sundial, move it one house to the left. If you have an oven clock, you'll need a master's in electronic engineering or a hammer. When it comes to your car radio, not worth it. Wait 6 months. That's the guide.
Or call Randy. Randy knows how to do all that electronic stuff. Thanks, George. I heard someone said, or one of the pundits, that they weren't going to set their clock back this year because they didn't want to give 2020 another hour. I sort of agree with him on that. And the program today is a tribute to Bernie, and Byron, we've got some videos. Mary, you have the video.
I have 2.
Okay, and then we've got some photographs from years past that I think George has got some, and did someone else have some video pictures, photographs?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a few up right now.
Okay, Bob. So, who wants to lead off with any? Well, Bernie's got hair there.
Yeah.
When was this taken?
In the late 80s. Probably 1989.
Yeah. That was at the convention, wasn't it?
And our regional.
Yeah.
He loved speaking to you guys and anybody else that would listen.
Well, he always had interesting things to add.
Yeah.
George, I've lost George's picture here.
We still have him.
Oh, I see him now. Okay.
Advance. Slide won't advance.
out of the participant thing.
George, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Go to speaker view.
Do you have pictures?
I thought Bob was gonna do his first.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulty advancing the slides here for some reason.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was it on that.
I'm gonna try this over again. Where's my desktop? Share screen. Where's it going? Share. How do I escape from this? I can't believe I practiced this thing this morning. I had it working perfectly, and now I can't make it. All right, there's the third slide
Yeah.
of his presentation. Jim, do you want to speak to any of this?
Yeah, a couple of things. Of course, this is the clock movement that he invented. He was a horological genius in my mind. This clock is on display at our national headquarters. He had one of the very first versions of it. He set up in our basement because we had a wall that was concrete wall on the foundation, and it was there for about 4 months, and it ran within 2 seconds. And it's one of the finest clocks ever designed in my mind. I've got a few other things after you get past the clocks.
This is a summary that I put together from the NAWCC website on items that discuss Bernie's clock. And this is a lecture that he gave, the bottom line for the physics of it. And he said the escapement for the simple regulator was designed to have an escapement error that speeds up the pendulum by the same amount as the circular error slows down the pendulum when the amplitude is increased. In this way, these changes in the escapement error and circular error cancel each other, even as amplitude varies. And so what he achieved with that is at least comparable accuracy to what the best timekeepers of the early 20th century were able to do with no compensations. Bernie's clock had no compensations. And that was time control suitable for laboratories.
Can anybody explain that?
Only Bernie.
I still can't set the clock on my oven.
I'd have to go look. I've got a set of notes that Bernie had given me one time. I'd have to go look at them.
Yeah, the errors are difficult to explain. Bernie's paper did a pretty good job of it.
Okay, good. I had the great pleasure of giving him both his fellow and star fellow. Both very well deserved.
The man certainly knew clocks.
He sure did.
It was his passion. He loved studying the timekeeping and would sit for hours explaining isochronism and what little adjustment it had made overnight every day at lunch at the shop. He would sit there and talk about isochronism and what little variations of escapement error would mean and what would little adjustment do. You know, he was so thrilled with his microset timer and being able to monitor his changes nightly. It was really his passion.
This is Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't see you anymore because my laptop died. I've got you on an iPad now, so I can see what you're doing. As long as you hear me, that's.
Yeah, we hear you.
Was that Carly?
Yep. I can't get it.
Come to the next screen. It's coming. See it now? So what I have is here is an email that I got from Marion Glover, who's a member of the our chapter. And I'll read the email. He says, I cannot join you Sunday, but I want you to know that I have known Bernie for about 4 decades, and he has helped me with my clock collection always when I needed his expertise. I also own one of his 30-day clocks, which keeps impeccable time. Attached is a picture of the 3 generations of Tekippes at my vacation house in South Carolina that you may want to share on the meeting since I cannot join you then. I must also tell you how much I know Byron helped his dad when he needed his support. He couldn't have been a more giving son. Signed, Marion Glover.
Yeah, that's a great picture. That's from 2018, I believe, when we went down there and set up that clock for him. And he was nice enough to have us all stay at his beachfront condo, which was a wonderful place for Dad and Carol. They had a beautiful vista over the peninsula on the north end of the island, and it was 270 degrees of ocean front beauty that they just really had a great time and loved. We all did.
That's a beautiful clock too.
Yeah, it's a nice clock. It's a modern German works.
Okay, that's all that I had. George, you want me to make you a co-host so you can show your stuff, or you want to do the videos next?
I'll try it. Let me see if I can get. You have to share with me?
Yes, I do. I have to make you a co-host. What is my problem with that? What is going on here now? Yes, I do. Stop share. Share screen participants. Here we go. So now there's George. We go to more. And I go make co-host. Do you want to make your co-host? Yes. Okay. There you go. You're a co-host now, George.
I'm trying to hold on now.
Nice kitty kitty.
She has become very affectionate in her old age. Now she wants to get up there and look out the window. That's fine too. 17 and a half.
Oh, that was it.
That's old for a cat, isn't it? I've never had a cat, so I don't know what their ages are, but
They can live into their 20s easily, most of them.
yeah.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I first ran into Bernie 1985. He was giving a clock class in Gwinnett County at one of the community high schools. And Sam was teaching. We had so many students that Sam was teaching one of the classes, and I was in the class with Bernie. And I think there were about 25 people in our class. And that's, Bernie, as we've all known, he not only shared his knowledge of clocks, but he was a great friend to all of us, never turned anybody down, always willing to cooperate. He never met a stranger. And fast forward to 1997, he and Sam were chairman of the national convention that we had here in Atlanta. And I think it was at the International Convention Center, which is now, was torn down, and now it's the area where I think the 4th or 5th runway crosses over I-285. So this was the exhibit committee, and you'll see all a list of the people that Bernie included
A lot of
in the
good friends.
exhibit committee. And this was the table of contents in the program for the exhibit. And you'll see there that he talks about the 10 clocks built in Atlanta, starting with a lighthouse clock, British shop regulator, skeleton movement, the banjo movement, regulator kit from Standard Park. So I was in the class, the original design regulator #1 that talked about the ladder chain. And then it went all the way through the 1 month, the experimental, the 8-day, eventually the 1-year clock. And this was a page from the exhibit that Bernie wrote up. So a number of us had our clocks on display at that exhibit, but we started making these, it was the first precision regulator in 1990. And mine is clock number 10, and we engraved on each of our movements classic clocks with our names, and mine is clock 010. And here's a picture of the dial and the movement. And of course, there's the seconds hand at the top, the minute hand in the middle, and the hour hand at the bottom. And this, we each, after our movements were made, it was up to each of us to make and design our own cases. And when I talked to Bernie about what kind of case I should make, I had made a traditional clock case, I guess a year or so before. And Bernie said, no, he said, make something different. So he said, with the round dials, he said, why don't you make a drumhead clock? And of course, you know, that kind of piqued my interest. And he arranged with me for a visit to Tom Elliott's warehouse. I think it was over by North Avenue. And Tom had a bunch of tall clocks in this storage area. And I looked, and a couple of them were drumhead clocks. So with Bernie's suggestion, I decided to go ahead and make a drumhead clock.
I have the original Tom Elliott's original drumhead clock that's modeled after.
You have, is that right?
Yeah, I do have it.
Boy. So I made this clock case out of cherry and made up my own sketches and so forth. And I don't know, looking back on it, I can't believe I made it. But so each of the feet, I made 4 feet on my lathe, and each foot goes all the way up to the corners on the base. Let's see, as you can see here. And
Yeah.
it's pretty tough making 4 feet the same, but I had chamfered the edges of the base as well. And this is the waist and the top, the bonnet, and
Yours looks better than Tom.
well, I made, you know, the little caps on the turrets. I made it in Bernie's shop on his lathe, and there's a dowel on behind each of those caps, and I veneered them with cherry veneer. The top is all cherry veneer. Bernie gave me a big piece of round plywood that he had in his shop, and I cut it in half and was able to make the 2 halves for the top. And it was quite incredible job. This was one of the corners. I rabbited out all the sections there on my radial arm saw, made the curved piece at the top, so each corner has the same design.
Looks very
And-
Howard-esque.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Well, you know, Bernie had all the ideas, you know, but it was a job making a round door and making the wood little piece around the outside, and so and this was the back of the bonnet. I even finished the back of the bonnet. So,
Wow,
but quite a job.
that's beautiful.
Thank you. And this is the total, and it keeps very good time. It really does. And when we replaced the chain, as Bernie said in the article in the brochure, we first used ladder chain, and it didn't work out. So we converted them over to the regular clock chain.
I have the same movement in a clock that Dad and Sam presented to me at our wedding, mine and Chris's wedding in '94, with the same movement, but it's got a cable driven. It's got a cord. The next rendition was cord driven.
Yeah, he made a lot of improvements. Bernie was a good tinkerer. He wanted to, every time you met him or went down to the shop, he had more ideas for making more improvements.
The new version, yeah.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of doing some machining on one of the renditions, and my experience would be each week I'd walk in there, everything I had done the previous week was obsolete.
Yeah.
Slight improvement to be made.
So, yeah, and to veneer the top, the round top, it was a process where we put glue on the inside of the veneer and on the rounded plywood top, and let it go to tacky, and then we would use an iron to iron it on. So it was really quite, Bernie had all the ideas how to do things.
That worked better for some of the clocks than others, you know. A lot of them had grain issues and popping with the ironing.
Yeah.
They never sat flat, you know. It all depended on the veneer and how much figuring there was in it, I think. If the more figuring, less likely it was to stick.
Well, you know, mine has held up very well over the years. So that was,
yeah, it looks beautiful.
And this was Bernie and Carol at the December 2018, our holiday dinner meeting. So,
yeah.
And I'll finish with, this is a carving I just finished and painted of Uncle Sam. And after starting it 40 years ago, I finally finished it. But Uncle Sam wants to leave you with one message, and that is to make sure you go out and vote. All right, guys, that's all I've got.
Great.
George showed me Uncle Sam when I was over at his house this past month or two, setting up some of our programs. He stands, what, George, about a foot tall?
Yeah, about 16 inches tall.
16. Yes. I mean, that is exquisitely done. Just quite a piece of workmanship.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Sam was out in my shop for years, you know, unfinished, and he kept staring at me. And every time I'm out there, I kept, it finally convinced me to go ahead and finish him. So anyway, guys, well, you know, we'll miss, I just can't say enough about Bernie. And the last, at least several months, he and I talked almost every day. And it was just so sad, a guy that loved to be with everybody, that he had to be there alone and we couldn't visit him. And I did share a lot of groaners with him almost every day, and got him to laugh and smile some. And we talked about how much we loved each other. And I just can't think about our lives going on without Bernie. It just was so good to all of us.
Well, thank all of you guys for giving him so much attention. You know, he really kept a great attitude through all that he went through, and I think y'all were a big part of that, keeping him in touch and talking to everybody. You know, he never showed all of the pain and difficulties that he was going through. He was, if you asked him how he was today, he was fine. He was doing good.
Yeah, Renee and I talk to him almost every day too. And that's absolutely right. He always had a great attitude. And we sure look forward to talking to him. Wonderful person.
Yeah.
We used to share who had the most hiccups at a time.
Yeah, I felt really guilty. At one point, I snuck him in a Coke, you know, because that was his first love. And then I said, I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, I said, "How was the Coke?" And he said, "Oh, it was awful. It gave me hiccups the first sip." And I've had hiccups for hours since. You know.
Well, yeah, and I can't think of how many times I'd go down to the shop and we'd sit and have lunch, and I always brought an apple, and Sam and Bernie and Charlie Brook and others who were there would go out and get a sandwich, and we'd just sit and share stories, and it was just wonderful, wonderful times together over the years.
That's right.
After the regionals here in Chattanooga, we often had Bernie and Carol over for a couple of days. And we'd sit around and, golly, Ned, he's a comedian. He'd tell stories of his time in New Orleans, particularly. And we were just laughing the whole doggone time. You don't really realize it with that part of his personality until you get to spend that time with him.
And something that I enjoyed about Bernie, when he got himself tickled telling a story, and he would laugh and exhaust himself, and he'd go,
Very true. Very true.
Well, Bob, do you want to take it back from me?
Yeah, sure. You can do your stop share, and I've already made Mary a co-host, and she can start.
Hi, everybody. So I have two videos. One I found on YouTube, and we'll do that first. The second one was, Bill helped me out on this. It was included in
Byron's wife. Yeah, Byron's wife, Chris, had put a link to it in the obituary.
It is very professionally done, so we'll save that one for second. And we're going to share computer sound and share screen. And I think this is the first. I may have these backwards. Yep, this is, as you can see, 2011 National, and Bernie is going to be interviewed by this fellow talking about his regulator. So here we go.
Hugh Daugherty again, editor of WatchDig. I'm here with Bernie Tekippe, and he has one of the most exciting pieces that I was looking forward to seeing here at the convention, and that's your precision timepiece, your precision clock. So we're going to walk over to it, and then I'll just ask you to explain it. The technology behind it is amazing in its simplicity, and you're the guy who can tell me all about it. Okay.
This is it. It's a regulator precision clock that runs for a month unwinding. It runs on 10 pounds a month, which is quite efficient. It uses only 3 wheels to achieve that. It has a 12-hour wheel here, and a half-hour wheel, and a 1-minute wheel. And the ratios are 24 to 1 and 30 to 1 to get from 12 hours to half hour and half hour to a minute. And that's all the gearing in it. And because of that, it's more efficient, runs on a smaller weight.
What's this reading telling us?
That's the timer that's checking the speed of it. It's right now it's saying that it's 83 millionths of a second slow.
83 millionths of a second slow.
It's down to 4 digits before I listen.
This is the amazing part about this regulator. How did you accomplish this?
Well, it grew out of classes that I taught for students building clocks in my shop. And just had a couple of directives. We were trying to make a simpler clock to eliminate as many parts as we could. So we did things like putting the pallets on the pendulum and eliminating the verge arbor and the crutch, because those are superfluous parts you don't need. And probably historically based, it's because of the way they built the first clocks that they wound up looking like that.
And they just kept evolving from there. And what you did is you sort of started from scratch and said we have to create a clock, but we're going to pretend like as if no clock existed before.
That's right.
Can we get a shot along in the side here? I love the way that you've designed this, because you can really see what it's all about. I mean, the dial, the movement.
When you make a clock like this, at the end, the whole thing has to come together. It has to look decent and nobody's going to look at it. And then it has to work and function, and you can't have any loose ends hanging off the edges. It's got to integrate into one object at the end and all fit together.
And how long did it take you to come to this final design? This final
I'm 69 years old. It's not final. I can't build two of them alike. So it's always changing.
It's constantly evolving. And to give you a little bit of a plug, these clocks are for sale. You do offer them to the public.
Yeah, this particular model is $3,500.
$3,500. Incredible.
And the timekeeping on it is exceptional. It varies only 1/100th of a second a day, which is better than any other mechanical clock like this. There's an arrangement in the escapement. It's designed so that if you push it harder, if more energy comes through the gear system, it speeds it up a little bit. As the pendulum slows down a little bit circulating, and the two errors cancel each other out.
Okay, well, we're back again. We got interrupted by an announcement for prizes, which is one thing that happens throughout the convention. You get a ticket, and you can stick around. You check your number, and you can win a door prize. So we're just finishing up and admiring Bernie's clock here, and I really want to thank you for giving us the explanation. And so, like I said, it's one of the pieces that I was really looking forward to seeing again. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for doing it.
Hugh Daugherty again, editor of WatchDig. I'm here with...
Hey guys, I'll try and get rid of that. Hold on a second. I can't get rid of it.
Wonder why she stopped.
Okay, well, at least I paused it. Now, let me get it out of full screen. Were you all able to hear that satisfactorily?
Yeah.
Okay, obviously it did have a lot of background noise. And when Bill contacted me to see if I could pull the next video, I didn't realize what he was talking about, so I found this one. But this next video is actually the one that we want to see. And can you see my blank screen at the moment?
No.
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 Okay. Let me go back and absolutely start over again. Back with, I want to share screen. Got the sound, need to share.
There you go.
And now are you seeing a blank screen, a black screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. All right. Well, maximize that and turn it loose. Here we go.
Time is always speeding up. it doesn't matter if the clock keeps perfect time. Every year gets faster than the last. Every year it feels like you're slipping away. You can't keep up with birthdays, anniversaries, and other instances where you really would like to keep track of time. Everyone's perception of time is always advancing.
It's always been fast. I don't know that it's speeding up, but it sure moves along at a regular clip. It doesn't wait for anybody. If you waste it, it's not coming back. It's always been that way. My name is Bernie Tekippe. I'm a clock maker. This is how I've made my living for the last 50 years, and I've enjoyed doing it. It's been a fantastic way to make a living. Want to try that again?
Yeah, we'll try that one more time.
Well, it was a hobby. I took it up and started repairing them just for fun. And then I started doing some work for some of the antique dealers. And one day I didn't go back to work and just kept doing it.
Hi, I'm Byron Tekippe. I'm Bernie Tekippe's son. Work on clocks as well. Have been working on clocks for about 20 years now. The thing that I marvel at about clocks is working on clocks that were made 200 years ago, before there was electricity, before there were cars. It's amazing to me the complication that is in a clock that's 200 years old.
Well, it's like working a puzzle. You have to be willing to try to figure out how a clock works, any clock that was designed in the last 100 years, and make it work that way again. And it's very hard to do, but very satisfying when you do it. This grandfather clock came in to be repaired. This foot was knocked off. So we reattached the foot and worked on the veneer a bit, the broken chips of veneer around it, and colored it and then finished it again to match it in.
One thing about clocks is they were art pieces as well as timepieces in the past. They were made with exacting detail. Today, we go out, we get a new cell phone, and it keeps better time than any of these clocks in the past ever did. But the clocks in the past hold so much more value, so much more intrinsic value with the art that they define, as well as the function that they perform.
The clock that was in Grandma's house and my father's house and now in my house ties our generation together. It's very important to our family.
I think my father's done a fantastic job of teaching me the business and understanding how clocks work.
He's very easy to get along with, and we have a good time working together. Every now and then he tells me I'm wrong, but most of the time he agrees with what I think, and I agree with what he thinks. I hope I can go on doing it for a while longer. I know I have a limited time like everybody else, and I can do less of it as I go along and not completely retire. And I look forward to that because it's still fun to do, it's still challenging, and I still look forward to coming to work every day and doing it. Oh, I said
Yeah, so you don't need to now.
I feel that you should try and slow down and take appreciation of the important things in your life. And I feel that being able to appreciate an old clock is one way that you can do that, get a glimpse into the past of what it was like when a clock was running 100 years ago, and lose yourself in the tick of the clock.
Imagine that two high school kids show up to film you at work and you end up with that result. You know, they were really talented at what they did. The guy who filmed that is named Takashi Dosher. He's now a big movie producer. He was in high school at the time and was credited with being the youngest person to sell a bio to ESPN at 18. He did a biography on Kyle Maynard, which is who hired him to film this video, because he was an inspirational speaker. He hiked Kilimanjaro, but he has no arms and legs. And so he went around the country and the world doing inspirational speaking and hired these high school kids to film them a video about time. And so just the result was like, wow, you did that? You're amazing. And it was later presented at the Atlanta Film Festival and won an award for film. And we got to go to an airing at the Plaza Movie Theater and see it on the big screen with a room full of people. It was great.
What year was this done, Byron?
I believe it was 2012, but I'm not certain. I know, I think it may have been done a little earlier than that. And 2012 was when we went to the screening, when it was presented at the film festival. And it may have been a bit before that. I'm not sure exactly when it was filmed.
A neat video, you know,
Yeah, it just blew us away that this high school kid, you know, turned us into movie stars. Made a great movie. That's what I said at the presentation at the film festival. Was give this guy all the credit. I never thought that somebody could turn me into a movie star.
How can we get a copy of that?
Yes.
It's on YouTube, so you can just go there and record it. It's also on my website.
And I can send the link that I have to Bob and let him send it out to the membership, if that's okay with Byron.
Yeah, I'm working on a memorial for the bulletin, and I'm gonna put a link in there to it also. I hope. Working on that today to get out for the January bulletin.
The minutes for this meeting and the last two are also on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch this whole meeting, including the video, on YouTube tonight.
Oh, great.
Well, you notice that Bob ends up getting more and more work out of these meetings than, it's nice to sit back and chair this thing and then say, well, Bob's going to do this, Bob's going to do that. And he's done a great job. I enjoy sending him links and things to send out on my behalf. Makes it look like I do something.
My pleasure.
Does anyone have any other stories or anything about Bernie they'd like to share?
I got one.
Okay, Dick.
There was a time when Bernie was buying 400-day clocks, and I bless him for this because I had 13 of those damn things. He bought every one of them at a slight discount, of course. That's all I remember him for his generosity.
Well, I curse you because I've got those 13 plus about 1,300 more. And if you want to buy any, I'll be happy to sell them back or give them. If anybody needs one, let me know.
I got 2 globes if you need him.
I don't know what to do with them. I got more globes than I could deal with also. I wish I could find somebody that was just head over heels over anniversary clocks, but it hasn't come to fruition. And I've got one that I'm repairing right now. I say that I'll keep all of them for parts at least, because somebody will bring one in to repair. and you always need one part. Well, I've got one now that's a rare early one that I can't find any parts for in all of the ones I got. So it's interesting that, you know, you always hope that you're going to have just the right thing.
Bernie was
Well, I've
always
got
my,
one that I could use.
sorry to interrupt. Bernie was always my go-to guy when I ran into the real problems. I had an Elliott Durfee clock that I was working on, a very, very fine piece. And I just couldn't keep it running. It had been thoroughly cleaned and it'd go through its cycle and it would just stop. And I told Bernie what my issue was. And he said, well, have you checked the flies? Are the leaves in balance? No. Put the leaves so that it parallel, the clocks ran, everything about it ran fine. Just, those are the sorts of things that Bernie knew, period.
Another particular thing about those clocks is they screwed the verge to the collet on the shaft, and the screws will always loosen up because of the continuing ticking.
Yeah.
And so you get to the point where the verge is just wobbling on the shaft. I thought that's what you were going to mention when you mentioned the clock, because I did one of those this week, and I thought of my dad saying, well, I don't know why these fine British clocks put these screw-on verges that always come loose. You know, he'd say, put some Loctite on it, but you'll still have to check it next time it's in.
Yeah, this one had the 9 tubular bells and a single vial mercury pendulum, 11 pounds of mercury.
Yeah.
Don't drop it.
Don't let anybody know it's there.
Right.
If you do a show and tell on that, Pete, a lot of people will be interested. And if you want, I won't put it on YouTube.
It actually was written up in the bulletin.
That would be interesting to see it.
That would make a nice program.
Yeah. There you go. See, when Michael steps up to be vice president, he doesn't have many presentations to gather. We got Pete's clock. We've got some videos from the mansion to do. So I'm recruiting here, you know.
Yeah, I know you are.
And it would look good on your business cards too, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, our chapter president down here in Daytona Beach wrote a very nice article in the bulletin on it. And it has all the pictures, and he put all my notes in about what was done to it. It occupied a fair amount of page space.
Well, maybe we can, you can get that as part of the presentation.
Could be done.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any show and tell?
Actually, let me share something about Bernie also.
Okay.
I have yet to work on a French clock movement because I've always been very nervous about the pivots being so brittle on those and so delicate. And I asked Bernie at one of the chapter meetings about it, and it was, you know, anything about if he had any suggestions or anything. And he said, and he looked at me, he said, and he smiled, and said, "Oh, I love French movements. They just go together so nicely, you know, they just go together so nicely. Go ahead and try it." But I haven't tried it yet, but I did recently get a hold of a French movement from a customer, and I'm going to use that as a teaching tool for myself.
He said that to another man named Mike Beard, and he had a technique of if you had a bushings and it didn't have quite enough in shake, you would tap it with a hammer and get just enough in shake. Well, somehow Mike Beard broke like 7 pivots off when he was doing that in his French movement. He said, "I'm never working on these again."
Well, I don't think I'll do that.
You're right, though. They are small and brittle.
Yeah, doesn't take much.
Well, when you're putting the plates back together, you just have to be so careful not to apply too much pressure, because They are very hard, but they can be repivoted. You'll have to anneal it, but yes, they can be repivoted. And they're fine pieces. They just don't wear that much because the plates are so thick and the pivots are so fine. And one of the things we found for polishing is you can use Fabuluster on a buffer and you can polish those to a mirror finish, and that works.
Wait, what did you say you polished them with?
Fabuluster, it's a jeweler's polish. Use it on a buff wheel.
That's good to know.
Well, I've got 5 French clocks here, and George, I know I mispronounce it all the time. It's Martine. Is that? Fortunately, a gentleman gave them to me. One of them the case weighs 65 pounds.
That's a lot of marbles.
Yeah. And they're all running. Fortunately, I didn't have to bush them, and I didn't break any pivots when I put it back together, which in and of itself is a miracle. I can break a pivot in a heartbeat.
Don't work on platforms.
I was lucky with these. I don't want to mess with any more of them, though.
Yeah.
Well, Byron, as always, would like to extend an offer to join our chapter. When we start meeting in person again, especially, it would be nice to have you as a member.
Yeah, I just don't know where to send my dues money because my dad always paid my dues. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm like a kid who says, "Well, I don't know what to do without my dad paying my bills."
Well, all you have to do is give me your checking account number, and I'll take care of your dues.
All right, here's my credit card right here.
We appreciate you sharing your thoughts and stuff with us.
I enjoy being back with you guys and talking about that, and I will join the local as well. I look forward to seeing you guys in person again.
Well, we appreciate it, and you get a free donut. Six times a year. No, five times a year, and then you get cold turkey on the 6th time.
That's a good one. I do want to have a memorial service for both Dad and Carol in the spring. I'm hoping that, whenever we can all get together again safely and have his family up from Louisiana, would like to do so. So I will keep you all informed on that for sure.
Well, we appreciate it, and I'm sure you'll have quite a turnout at a celebration of life. We'll remember him for sure. That's definite. Well, I appreciate it. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss or bring up?
Yeah, I do. I have one. I had a customer contact me recently about a Gilbert clock that they found at an antique store, and they weren't sure about it. And I did a little research and found that the model was called a curfew clock. It's got a big bell on the top. I can show you a picture of it. Let's see. Hopefully I can. Let me share my screen. Oh, it says host disabled screen sharing. I'll try it again. Nope.
You're muted. I can't hear you, Bob.
Randy, where are you?
Here we are. Let's see here. Let me share that. There it is.
Yeah, you got it.
So that's a curfew clock. And what my customer asked was, do you know why it's called a curfew clock? And I couldn't answer them on that.
I have a great story. I had a clients once, two sisters in their 80s, and it wasn't a curfew clock, but this clock was in the hall in their home when they were young. And they had tremendous guilt because they came in late after curfew one night and turned the clock backwards to the correct time. And they said, my daddy's clock has never worked since then. And they were both in their 80s. And this was like 6 years ago that they had broken the clock and felt guilty about it ever since.
Oh my. Well, I guess if I ever find out why it's called a curfew clock, then I'll share it with the group.
I would imagine that that's probably why it's called that. You know, when you had to be in by 11 or, you know.
With the bell on top, it announced the time proudly all night long, I guess.
Well, I suppose it would. Yes. Yes.
It's an interesting looking clock. Have you got it fixed and they're happy?
Oh no, she didn't buy it. Like I said, it was at an antique store, and she was just curious about it. And being a Gilbert, I said I wondered, you know, since they seem to be notorious about having the pinion on the minute hand cracking on those, something to check to see if the hands are loose on it or not.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to that Gilbert I've got, the hand cracked.
Yeah, they like to do that.
I can't remember his name now. I referred him to you last week. He had a clock that he needed some work done on it. So, but I can't remember his name now. I'm old age is sitting in.
Well, I tell you what, I'm swamped with repairs. People are still calling me, and I meet with them, and I'm, as always, I'm backed up on repairs. So that whoever that person was may have contacted me, and I may have their clock in my shop upstairs. I don't know.
Well, we'll keep sending business to you.
All right. Well, thanks. I'll try to keep up with it.
Anything else?
It's good. It's good to hear that folks are still interested in taking care of these items. I do wonder if it's because we're all cloistered at home. We're looking at things around the house that needs attention.
I think that has a lot to do with it. I've been very busy as well. You know, lots of people sitting at home wanting their items to be fixed, wanting everything to work in the house.
Well, I'll tell you a brief story. George has already heard this one, but this lady that used to live up here in Forsyth County, she lives in Sarasota, Florida now. And I've been in touch with her for probably a little more than a year. She's been contacting me, wanting to bring, she had a storage shed just down the street from my house here. And she said it was full of clocks. So I said, well, if you want to sell them, you can bring them on a Sunday to auction them off. Well, between the times that she could get here from Sarasota, we quit meeting. So she contacted me last month and she said, I've got to get rid of these clocks. Will you meet me at my storage shed? And I said, sure. So I met her and her daughter. They came up from Sarasota. And she said, I looked at the clocks and she said, how much will you give me for these? I said, nothing. I said, my wife has already told me I can't buy any more clocks. So she said, well, I said, you know, you could bring them if you want to wait. You can bring them the next time we meet. I can't tell you when that'll be. She said, no, I'm paying $175 a month for this storage shed. I've got to get rid of it. And her daughter told me, she said, look, she's got 2 more storage sheds in Florida, plus a garage full of stuff. And we moved her into a condo. She has no room. We don't want this stuff. So she says, well, how much will you give me? I said, nothing. She said, well, I'm just going to throw them in the dumpster over here. And I said, well, wait a minute. If you're going to throw them away, of course I'll take them. And I ran home and got my trailer. And I've got 3 grandfather clocks. One of them I've dated back to at least 1810. It's I forgot the Whitaker Sprig. I think it's if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyway, I've got just about all of them cleaned and running, and this is the lady that has 3 that she wanted me to fix for her that the dog chewed. So, but I have a feeling she's not going to come back for those because she went back to Sarasota, and her daughter, I kept trying to talk her into keeping them, and her daughter standing behind her kept waving her hand. So when she walked out of the storage shed, she said, "Look, as I told you, we've got more storage sheds and we don't have any room. So quit talking her into keeping these things."
So now if we want them, we just call your wife, right?
That's right. Yeah. I have to start hiding them. But that was nice. Pardon?
I said he has his daddy sense of humor.
Yeah.
Well, the point is that Mary had said you couldn't buy any more, but she didn't say anything about you can't take any free ones.
That's right. Yeah.
I might need you to come up for a visit.
Well, I don't think she's going to want these back, even though I've got her 3 cleaned and running. So if she does decide she wants them.
Don't forget your trailer.
That's right. Yeah. I'll get all those anniversary clocks, those 400-day ones.
They're the first one loaded. They're free. Just tell your wife they're free.
That's right.
I bet Danny would store them for you.
I'm sorry?
I said, I bet Danny would store them for Dan.
Yeah, Danny would. Anyone have anything else?
If not, I would like to just say, in summary of this tribute to Bernie Tekippe was a classic.
He was that.
And he was a classy classic.
And I always felt like his shop looked exactly like a clockmaker's shop should look. Items up front for sale, and in the back, just stuff all over the place with works in progress.
I'll never forget when Mary Francelon came to the shop one day.
It was shortly after he opened, I think.
Yeah, she says, "Well, you don't do an inordinate amount of cleaning up around here, do you?"
Now, that's Bernie's version. Mary denied it.
As my dad would say, he was a neat Nick.
I won't live long enough to know enough about clocks as Bernie did. So,
neither will I.
Well, I appreciate all of you calling in, and I appreciate your stories about Bernie, and we hope to get together and meet in person again soon.
Amen.
Well, I want to thank y'all again for being in touch with Dad and helping him through his hard times. I know that y'all all meant a great deal to him, as well as the club and everything he could do to be a part of the organization. He really, that was the center of his universe, was the NAWCC. He really enjoyed all of you guys, and he couldn't have done it without you. He really thrived from talking to each and every one of you when I would talk to him, and he would tell me all about who he'd talked to and what was going on with everybody. So thank y'all very much.
Quite welcome.
Well,
Okay.
We'll never forget Bernie at the meetings when there was a discussion of something, and Bernie and Carol would be in the front row, and then at the end of the discussion, Bernie would stand up and take the mic and give the final answer. And it was great, we'll never forget stuff like that, just wonderful.
Yeah.
We need more members like him.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get Byron. Yeah, we'll have one.
That's right.
All right.
Well, we'll
Well,
work
like
on him.
I'll send you my credit card numbers right after the meeting.
Well, unfortunately, we don't take credit cards, but I'll use it for something else.
Oh, okay. Amazon takes credit.
I've been looking to buy a lathe, so I'll use it for that. And
You can just go ahead and send the numbers out right now. We'll we won't listen too hard.
Wait, let's back up to buying Lay's. Okay, just give me a call on that one.
well,
is it a correct assumption that we'll have another meeting in November?
yeah, I mean, I think, we've been having these now monthly as opposed to every other month. So I think another one next month.
I think that's November, isn't that November 1st when we change clocks? Change the time?
Yeah, is that the,
November 1st is a Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, surely we'll all be late then.
No,
right.
it's fall back. So
Exactly why we'll be late.
yeah, November 1st, at 10:30 on the new time. So we'll have, now the December meeting, I guess we're gonna all have to get a Swanson frozen turkey dinner and sit here and eat that. Like I said, I appreciate all of you calling in and taking time out of your day to spend with the rest of us.
On that note, I'll miss the classic clocks after the clock club meeting luncheon this November meeting, because we'd always have great big leftover sandwiches. It was great.
Okay, is that it? We stand adjourned.
Thank you all for inviting me in. It was great, guys.
You're always welcome anytime.
good to see you, Byron.
Y'all take care.
Okay.
All right, so long.